Hello and welcome to Better in Business. In today's episode, I'd like to give you some advice around how to prevent yourself from identity theft, and then also just to minimize the impact of when it happens, because these days, well, for a long time now, those of us in financial services, those of us in the know, so to speak, and in IT, we tend to say it's not if it'll happen to you. Unfortunately, it's when it happens to you. And beyond that, unfortunately, it's actually happening to a lot of people and they don't know. So I'm also going to tell you exactly how to find out what's happening in your world so that you can start to consider whether you want to monitor this kind of thing, just like I do. So without further ado, let's get stuck into the episode. You've tuned into the Better in Business podcast, and I'm your host, Jeannie Savage. I'm a multi-award winning business veteran and head of the Strategic Bookkeeper Network. My network of strategic bookkeepers is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs do better in business. This podcast aims to challenge your thinking. If you're not thinking the right way, how can you act the right way? Each episode will dive into key drivers of success, which I also call the rules of the game. Learn the rules and play to win. Let's go. I like to start every episode by reminding you that it is globally recognized that pillar number one for success is up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping, which is the only way you can see how your business is performing in terms of profit and cash. If your books aren't right up to date, visit betterinbusiness.global, drop me a line and I'll connect you with a certified strategic bookkeeper. Fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper. Bookkeeping is a cost, whereas strategic bookkeeping is an investment that averages a 10x return on the fees. Okay, let's go. So you could say that I am a bit of a tech nerd, a bit of an IT nerd. Always have been. And actually, it's one of the reasons some of my friends thought it was a little humorous when I had somewhat of a hack as well, okay? But here's the thing. Unfortunately, on the whole, we're all being hacked. It's just whether you know and whether they're able to do much damage, okay? So I'm going to explore that now, and I'm going to give you some examples of things that happen, like real life, what I'm seeing at the moment, including what's happened to me. So let's start with what I've been through personally. So I was one day in doing what is called an Equifax report. That is, I think, EQUIFAX. So Equifax is a really great system online where you can run like a credit check of yourself. So any credit cards you've applied for, bank accounts you've opened, utilities like telephone, electricity, all that kind of thing is going to come up in the Equifax report, okay? So I was running one of those for myself, and lo and behold, somebody had opened a bank account in my name and also applied for a $50,000 credit card. It made me want to vomit. Now, they hadn't got any further than that. So the credit card had not been approved. The bank account had been opened, but they weren't actually able to do anything with it, okay? And it was with my main bank. So beyond that, as far as I know, there wasn't any other damage that was done, and there might be reasons for that. So my friends thought that was a bit funny, but I've got myself kind of maybe just as secure as the average person can be, or maybe more than the average person, but I'm as secure as I can be without what some IT people do. So for example, when I do my online banking, I'm okay with using my computer. Really high-level IT people sometimes have one locked down computer that they do banking on because they see so much of this. They can be really cautious. Yeah, I've got friends in government and IT that will not use social media, etc. I don't take it to that level, but I'm going to tell you about other things I do that minimize the impact of anything that anyone can do, okay? Because I'll go back to, unfortunately, it's not if, it's when. So the first thing I recommend is that every business owner does an Equifax report on themselves. And I do recommend that you spend the little bit of money they charge you, which should be tax deductible if you're doing this to protect your business, okay? And they will monitor and alert you, okay? It's definitely worthwhile. And you know what? I would go as far as to say in the day and age that we live in, it's actually required. Here are the other things that I'm seeing all the time. So I personally know of an accountant that I think a bill was sent into them, or maybe they sent a bill, I can't remember which, and within 60 seconds someone had hacked in to the PDF, changed the bank account to their own, and the administrator paid that bill to a hacker's bank account. So that's an example of, I can't remember what the technical word for that, but it's basically where hackers are actually monitoring your email in and out. And it's one of the reasons that on the plan that I have here in front of me that I wanted to tell you about is I actually really love G Suite and Google, because if you think of it this way, Google, their security, their cybersecurity is probably as good or better than the American government's. I don't have the money to recruit that team, but I can leverage the power of that through someone like Google. So I use G Suite extensively in my business. And when we get a little hack or a compromise, I don't even know about it. Google somehow can intercept, like they've got all IP trackers and everything. They lock us down, they contact me and they say, there's been a breach, you just need to change passwords, etc. And it's like I've got this security team behind me, and we have never, ever had any dramas since moving to G Suite a long time ago, okay? So in the small fee that you pay for the business G Suite, you're actually getting a really, really good level of cybersecurity, okay? So that's one thing that I'll mention there. A really good friend of mine unfortunately just got a full-on hack, and they hacked his taxation office, his Medicare, everything. So what they do when they hack into your ATO, unfortunately, and I don't even know how they get in there, but they do, is they do lodgements for refunds, and then they get those refunds to their own bank account. So unfortunately, that's happening enough that I do personally see it. It's just happened to a friend of mine. And then what happened in the Medicare was that they went in and they did like medical consultations. I don't know how they did it. And they were getting refunds from Medicare into their bank account. Okay. So there's that kind of thing as well. So there's tons happening from the small to the little. You know, we see Facebook people being hacked, but nobody has ever successfully at this point, recording this podcast, hacked my Facebook. So why is everyone else getting hacked? Well, there's a few reasons for that. And so what I'm going to say is that I think one of the first things after the things that I've just told you that you should do is have a password software. So the one I use is LastPass. Now, if you heard about how LastPass was caught up in a hack themselves, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, you know. So here's the thing about a password software. When LastPass was hacked, like everybody else, like the banks, like the Perth Mint, I mean, nobody is immune to this, right? So the Australian government, everybody tends to get these breaches. It's how ready they are, yeah, and how the damage can be minimized. So with a password manager like I use, and I'll explain that a bit more in a minute, when LastPass got hacked, LastPass can't actually, they don't have our master passwords. So the hackers were able to see details like maybe name and email address, yeah, but the hackers were not able to get the password. And as LastPass advised, if your password is 12 or more characters, upper, lower, number, symbol, basically kind of a bit of a jumble, then they will not be able to hack you. Like they give you the amount of years, which is longer than a lifespan that a software would have to be used to hack. All right. So a company like LastPass, like this is their whole job, is to help you keep your passwords secure. So the hack, as it was explained to me, you know, we don't even know when these hackers are in our computers. Yeah. And so I would much rather be counting on an old school organization like LastPass, because they're an offshoot of a really old school IT company. I would rather have everything secure with them. So what does it mean to use LastPass? Well, it means that internally, for example, in my organization, our password policy is that every single password that I have, that my team has, is 12 or more characters, the formula I just told you, and every password is unique. So my Facebook password, every single password I use is different. I've probably got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of passwords, okay? So what happens there is if somebody hacks one thing, that password will not be able to get them into anything else, yeah? And further, if your passwords are not the formula that I've just given you, 12 or more characters, upper, lower, number, symbol, yeah? If your password is a simple word or whatever, they've got, I call them coffee cup apps. So hackers have apps, and in the time that it takes us to make a coffee, they can have hacked your password and figured it out. But not if you use the formula I told you. And if you use a password manager and every password's unique, if anybody happens to get into one thing, they can't get into anything else. So that's definitely one of my top tips. So if you're doing all that, you're really going to be minimizing your risk. Definitely do turn on two-factor authentication everywhere that you can. It's becoming compulsory now anyway. Now, I bank with quite a few different banks, and I noticed recently that Macquarie Bank actually had a box that I could tick in security that said, we've got another layer of monitoring. And if you would like us to turn that on, we will do all of these things and let you know if we notice anything suspicious. So I guess the moral of that story in two-factor authentication is use all the tools available to you to prevent hacking and also to minimize the damage if a hack happens, okay? So definitely do that. So we've covered off most things. Another thing I want to point out, which really catches people off guard, is if you are online shopping, do not use your credit cards, okay? So you want to make sure that you've got PayPal set up or you've got Apple Pay. Now, I was just online and I was booking airport parking, and they don't take PayPal and they don't take Apple Pay. What do? Well, here's what you do. You get yourself a card that keeps no money in it. Yeah. And I personally like the Wise platform. That's WISE. It's a virtual card I have on my phone. And at the swipe of my finger, I can create a brand new card with a brand new number. It's a really great system to have. So what I did then is I transferred the exact amount required for the airport parking onto my virtual Wise card, and I exclusively use that and reserve no money in that account if I have to put my credit card into anything online. Beyond that, I do not put my credit card into online portals, okay? And if we have to do a business one, for our clients, we actually have a cybersecurity document. So even though sometimes we can seem a bit painful, we say to our clients, if you make sure that you submit all of your bills and receipts to this little AI that we give them, then they don't have to file or anything like that. That is our authority from you that you actually authorize that purchase. So in my business, with my business credit cards, we do actually put those into some major softwares we use. My team treat me exactly like I want my clients treated. So in our business bank accounts that come through our accounting software, yeah, we use Xero, they will not allocate an expense unless they can see that I've submitted a bill, okay? Because that's me saying I authorize that purchase, okay? So the exception with the rule around the credit cards that I use with my business cards these days, though, unless it is an ongoing, kind of regular software purchase, something like that, like if it is airport parking, which is a business trip, I will not put my credit card into that portal. If they don't take PayPal or Apple Pay, which are more secure because your credit card is held in there, then I will use my Wise card, which has no credit, no money in it ever, okay? So if you want to buy tickets for things and you can't use PayPal or Apple Pay, then I recommend that you just set up a Wise card, really easy to do, and you use that for internet purchases. So there you have it. These are my main cybersecurity tips. If you feel like your bookkeeper's painful and always asking you for receipts, in my opinion, you should be doing the opposite. You should get furious if they code something that means allocate something in the accounting software without a receipt. Because how do we know it's a genuine purchase? Hackers are even hacking in and making things look like bank fees and loan repayments. I mean, we are very careful in my bookkeeping practice, as are all strategic bookkeepers in my strategic bookkeeping network. And that's why I would recommend that you fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper, because we'll keep you much more safe in terms of cyber security. So let's just circle back to where we began. If you haven't done an Equifax report, I recommend that you do one. Just be aware that some credit cards that you have might be attached to a different bank. So if you see a bank that you don't recognize, don't panic before you double check that, for example, your Qantas card, if you've got a Qantas credit card, it'll be linked to, say, a NAB bank or something like that, okay? If you get a nasty surprise, you're going to have to consider things like changing your driver's license, changing your passport, getting the password software, changing all of your passwords, which the password software actually helps with, okay? Another thing about LastPass, if you do start using it, it'll probably prompt you to see if you want it to creep through your browser, collect all your passwords securely. And then what I do is I do not keep any passwords in my browser. So you know how most people would just save their passwords and it's so easy? I'm too cautious for that, right? So all my passwords are in my password vault in LastPass. They will not populate themselves in my computer. That is not secure, okay? You need a proper password manager. So what you can do with LastPass is you can tell it, create my passwords, and then you can get your browsers to delete all passwords and never ever save again. I do that in both my phone and my computer, and I use LastPass across both platforms. I use a slightly premium edition that's paid. There's a really great free one, but I pay just a really small amount, I think $50 a year, to have a more premium edition, okay? I do hope that this has made you more cautious as well, because it breaks my heart seeing what's happening out there, and I will see you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. I would love to help you start doing better in business right now by giving you a free little ebook. It's a how-to guide. It's called The 7 Deadly Cash Flow Sins. And also I've developed a business health check for you. It's super high value. Both are available at betterinbusiness.global. If you would like to fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper to start enjoying a return on investment and get the support you need to optimize your business cash and profit and time wealth, simply visit betterinbusiness.global, drop me a line and I'll connect you with a certified strategic bookkeeper near you. I'll see you in the next episode.